So, we are going to be doing our once in a blue moon NBA segment. Ooh, every NBA fan just went, wow. Get excited, guys. We're talking about the Phoenix Suns because they.
Don't mention that. Don't mention that to the MLB fan.
Oh yeah, no, the MLB fans.
They're gonna get
The
jealous.
MLB fans are so deprived at this point that.
They're in a coma.
Hey, Caleb, we can make a promise here. We can make a promise here. Okay. The next
Spring
time
training hat
Shohei.
segment
No,
coming
no, no,
out
no,
in
no, no,
two
no.
weeks.
That's not the promise I was gonna make. I was gonna say
Ranking the Fanatics uniforms from how likely I would be to burn it in a trash fire.
we should actually do that. That is actually a great segment. Oh, put that on
Ranking the uniform
list.
changes from how much they want me to, how much they make me want to pull my teeth out.
Yeah, yeah. We can call them the plier rankings. It'll be great.
When we know the show.
Everybody
We got
loves
off
this
the
segment. Everybody loves it. It is well known that everyone in the YouTube world loves a segment based on at home dentistry. It is true, or what's it called? DIY dentistry. There you go.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're talking about the Phoenix Suns. We're talking about the Phoenix Suns and their entire thing on them sucking. There we go. There's your intro. Fuck off. I don't care. The Phoenix Suns got swept out of the first round despite having Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, like that one center on Portland for like ever. I don't even remember his name anymore. Oh shoot, I need to watch more NBA, man. Whatever. Anyway, the Suns just pretty much this entire thing is just the main reason we're talking about is their owner. Their owner came out here and pretty much said that he doesn't think anything's wrong with this team. He thinks it's perfect. He thinks that everything what did he say again? That he thinks that 26 out of 29 yeah, oh yeah, go nuts.
Yeah. So is it the one you just said? Like 26 NBA. I don't have that exact quote, but it was something along the lines of 26 NBA GMs would trade their whole team for our whole team.
Yeah.
And the other thing he said that I do have the quote for is he said, "The narrative that the house is burning is incorrect. The Phoenix Suns are doing great, excellent, not as good as we want to be, not as good as we're going to do next year, and that's what we're going to figure out. But we've got to tweak and modify and adjust to win a championship next year."
Yeah. And
that's the full quote.
Yeah, and clearly it just and he also came out and said that some stuff about Frank Vogel about whether or not or the thing I have right in front of me is that he declined to say whether the team would be retaining Frank Vogel. And I mean, when I look at this, I don't know about you, when I look at this whole thing with the Suns, at least to me, I think something has to change. There were some comments that Kevin Durant came out and said that he didn't think he was being utilized well. He didn't think
Yeah, I heard about that.
like there's a whole bunch of stuff with this Phoenix Suns team. It's the same issue that we see every single team that tries to put three very good stars who individually are incredibly talented on the same team. It doesn't really work. Is spoiler alert. It doesn't.
Where there's
like
just not a role for him. I think that was the issue. Where they're trying to fit
he said,
a player like Bradley Beal into a role he's not comfortable with.
and they said, and that was the same thing with Kevin Durant too. I think the exact comment was that he felt like he was being relegated to the corner, which is not what Kevin Durant really should be. He can shoot from the corner. Absolutely. Kevin Durant, excellent corner three-point shooter. Is that what made him arguably the best scorer of the 2010s and some of the 2020s? Absolutely not. Kevin Durant is elite at doing Kevin Durant things, which is basically fading through the middle, taking those stupid three-point shots, and all of the things that Kevin Durant is just spectacular at doing because he's a 6'10" monster. It's just, and that's when you don't let Kevin Durant do that, you're not going to get the most out of him. And when you have a stacked team like this, when you have a team that he's not going to be the number one option in a situation, in any other situation other than the Warriors had, in my opinion, the best possible, what's the word, super team, right? Because of the fact that they had pretty much a guy for every single little thing. Curry is the big star. He's the number one option. I'm tripping all over my words. I'm tired. I need caffeine. You know what I mean. Curry's the big star. He's the three-point shooter. He's your point guard. Shooting guard, Klay Thompson. He's your guy who's never going to dribble the ball. He's a great defender. He can shoot threes from everywhere. Kevin Durant's your guy he's your second best scorer. He can do everything. Power forward, you have Draymond Green, defensive player of the year, excellent player. Slide in any center, and I mean any center. We saw that. Literally anybody, and it works. That is how they were able to pull it off, right? They didn't have three guys who are all scorers. Devin Booker, elite scorer. Bradley Beal, elite scorer. Kevin Durant, elite scorer. And then after that, as somebody who is doesn't watch as much NBA anymore, I don't even know. I don't know who's next on that depth chart. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't match up well. So, at least to me, I look at it as, I think you got to change something. You got to move at least one of those big three. And,
yeah.
I mean, contracts makes it tough. Contracts do make it tough. So, I don't know. I don't know what the situation like that or with that looks like, but I don't know. To me, you got to do something.
And I mean, like, in terms of moving one of the big three, I do think that is probably what you have to do, because I think a couple things based on what you just said. I think number one, you're right in terms of like the reason we've seen so many super teams fail is because teams go for more of a collection of names to put on the promotional poster at the start of the year than an actual team, right? It's a lot more like a lot of these super teams, on aside from a few examples such as like the Golden State team, or even the like early 2010s Miami Heat with like LeBron, Bosh, and Wade, where that really started. We haven't seen those teams have a lot of success, and it's been a lot more about like preseason hype, especially more recently, where teams have started to move away from just gathering big names, because it's more about how they fit together and how they operate as a team. Where it's like the Nuggets are probably like defending champion. They aren't built like a super team. They have Jokic as their superstar, but otherwise it's guys who are just really good at the roles they play. And that's not what the Suns were. Like, as a pure, like, overall, if you just stacked up pure overall basketball talent in terms of, like, these players being at the peak of their careers and just, like, how good are they? We don't care about how well they play together. How good are they? The Suns are probably, like, better than the Nuggets in that regard, but the Nuggets are probably going to make another trip to the NBA Finals, if not make a run for it, where the Suns didn't even win a playoff game. That's the difference, is that's not what matters. The other thing in terms of making a move for one of these big three, and how that loops in with what the owner was saying, is he's a second-year owner, and it sounds like, I mean, just reading the score article, it does sound like he's fairly disconnected from the team in terms of I'll see what they had here in terms of him splitting his time between Michigan and Arizona, so he's not always in the building. And there is worry about how much influence a lot of like newer owners have. We see that in the NFL with David Tepper, where he's like going into Carolina sports bars and like fighting people because they have signs that hurt his feelings outside. I'm not saying he's quite that, but there is the kind of thing of like new owners don't necessarily know what to do, and it sounds like his fault right now is just being naive about saying like, oh, I'm just going to close my eyes and pretend that running it back will work. And I don't think, especially based off what we saw this year, where there's all this preseason hype and they didn't even win a playoff game, I don't think that's going to work well for him.
Yeah, and no, I don't disagree with you either. I mean, he's also just making a lot of claims that I don't know if they're necessarily realistic if you want to keep things the way they are. It's also stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of things that he said in these interviews that are very interesting. Like, one quote that I'm just reading now is it was the Suns GM who said that, which adds a little bit more context, actually. He said that he believes Phoenix will be the first team to maximize Kevin Durant's talents, which, in my opinion, is a wild statement.
At 36. He'll be 36. How many more years does he even have left? Right?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's more the fact, I don't think it'd be a crazy statement to say if the Suns had come out and go, okay, clean slate, we're trading Bradley Beal and we're trading Devin Booker, and we're going to get a real deep team, we're going to make everything work, we're going to trade for a bunch of pieces who are going to basically work around Kevin Durant as a player, then it makes a bit more sense. Saying what you're saying when you say that When is you are saying right now that next year Kevin Durant is the number one option. Kevin Durant is the guy with the ball in his hands whenever you need that elite scorer, right? Or whenever you need that. You're not giving it to Devin Booker. You're not giving it to Bradley Beal. You're not sharing the ball anymore. You're giving it to Kevin Durant. And that really makes me wonder how people like Bradley Beal and how Devin Booker are going to look at that, because it's it's really, you're just saying who's the most valuable in this offense. And in the NBA, when egos are everything, I don't know if that's necessarily a good statement to make. I'm going to be really curious to see what the Suns do. I think they're going to be a very interesting team to watch, because I think they need to, in my personal opinion, they have to make some changes. They have to do something, because I just don't think their system works. I mean, you pointed out really well, I think. I think the way I'd put it is they're an all-star team. They're a team that, on any given night, based on the skill, can score 140 points against you or whatever, 120 points. But can they also allow 130 points? Absolutely. Nobody has ever been a big believer in the defense of Devin Booker or Bradley Beal, right? Like, it's that type of thing. I don't know. Something has to change. There's too much offense, too little defense, too little depth. All of those things basically just mean that's not a team that's going to win much.
And that's the concern, right? Because like something does have to change. They got swept. Right? Like
yeah,
something does have to change. But it's just so concerning that it doesn't seem like anything will. That's the big thing with all of it. Because I do think they're a very interesting team to watch. But they could also be potentially, just based on, like, because I do think the whole thing is interesting just because of what the owner and the GM are saying. Where it's like, they could also be the least interesting team to watch, where they could just close their eyes and say, run it back. Yeah. I don't know. I think it will be fascinating to see which path they go down. I do think it's better to go down a certain path, and I do think it's also just disappointing to Suns fans. I mean, like,
yes,
it's such a letdown to go from all this preseason hype to have had contenders in the past like 3 to 4 years, where before they were more of a basement dweller, where you go, like, I believe they were up like 2-0 in the finals a couple of years ago, and now this is where they're at, and despite the roster seeming to have more talent, it's just such a letdown. We're seeing a similar thing. Not quite the same, obviously, because Milwaukee got a title, but the similar thing in Milwaukee where you bring in Dame and you say, like, oh my goodness, the sky's the limit, like NBA title or bust. And it's not worked out that way, and the coaching change messed everything up, and injuries have messed everything up, and their defense is not nearly as good as it needed to be. It is a lot of, like, we're seeing these flat, like, I think in a lot of sports, like, flashy offseason moves often burn out in flames, but I feel like in basketball more than anything that's true.
Yes. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know what the Phoenix Suns have to do at this point. I think you got to do something different. I think you pointed it out pretty well when you can't stick your head in the sand. I think that is what they're trying to do. I think we are seeing that is what they're trying to do, which is, I mean, we'll see how it goes for them. Maybe it's the type of thing where all these players just need to get used to playing with each other. That's the funny thing with all these super teams. My one argument against blowing it up is the fact that usually they blow it up before any of the players have even been there for like 3 years. So part of me, if you want to make the argument of, like, it's their first year playing together, LeBron, Wade, and Bosh in their first year playing together, I don't even remember anymore. It's been so long. Like, they got swept, I think, by Dallas or whatever ended up happening. Like,
well, they at least made it to the finals.
Yes. Oh, sure. Yeah, that's a fair argument. But in that series against Dallas whipped their ass so hard that people were saying stuff like what we're talking about right now. Like, why are they going to run this back again when clearly they just got beat by a European man with a mullet and a bunch of depth players? God, I wonder if, well, maybe not the mullet part, but I wonder if that'll ever happen again, huh? Like, it's just... yeah, it's the type of thing where I wouldn't be opposed, I guess, to giving it another year, just to, like, let's see what happens, right? Let's see if maybe we can put a system around these guys where offense makes the dream work, right? But I think the main key thing missing with this team is defense. When I look at all three, and I'm not saying I don't think Kevin Durant is a defensive. God, I'm tired. What's the word? Oh, put a dollar in the jar every time Simon forgets a word. I don't think he's necessarily bad defensively. I just think I would not say that Devin Booker or Bradley Beal are good defensively, and that's where your issue lies. Where a team with an elite guard like Anthony Edwards, like all of those guys, I mean Minnesota right there, right? You don't really have anyone who can properly guard him, and that's a hard thing for a team like that because you just need to basically outscore those teams. And
yeah,
the Suns
and
can't really do that.
Edwards went off in their series, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna like try to pull up his stats in some of the last few games.
In game four, he had 40 points, 6 assists, 9 rebounds. In game 3, he had 36 points, 5 assists, 9 rebounds. In game 2, he had that's the Suns. Why am I looking at the Suns? There we go.
15 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists.
That's an insane number. And in game 1, he had 33. So
other than game 2, every single time over 30 points, 9 rebounds every game except game 2, like it's insane.
Yeah. Yeah, and part of that is also just the fact that Anthony Edwards is him, but like
well obviously, but I mean, a lot of these teams, not saying that, not to downgrade what Anthony Edwards is doing because I think he's one of the most exciting players in the league right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, every team has that superstar, right? That you're going to have to defend no matter who you go up against.
And the Suns just
you're not. if you're not playing the Timberwolves in the first round, I don't know, you're playing the Mavs, and you go against Luka and Kyrie, or you play the Sixers and you have to go up against Embiid, or whatever, right? Like every team's gonna have a star player that you're gonna have to defend, and they just can't do that right now. That's the concern.
Well, exactly that, right? Like, it's just tough for a team like the Suns. I mean, they need to change something. I think it starts with depth. When I look at the Suns team, I don't see a lot that I necessarily like, and I don't think many people do. I think at least outside of their top 3. I mean, it's not necessarily very good, especially when you look at it like this. I mean, just look at here. I'm going to pull up game 4. I'm going to pull up the box score for game 4 for the Suns. Kevin Durant had a very good game. 33 points, 5 assists, 9 rebounds. Devin Booker, 49 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds. Bradley Beal was the worst out of the 3, 9 points, 2 assists, 1 rebound. Basically just out there for a jog. And then just look at the rest of the starting 5 here, where Royce O'Neal, who played 37 minutes, 6 points, 6 rebounds. Then you look at Eric Gordon, 6 points, 0 assists, 0 rebounds. Right? And you start to see what I'm talking about. They only played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They only played 8 players in the game.
Wow.
Which isn't that uncommon for a playoff team. It is very uncommon. Like, here, I'll go to the other side of the board now. Like, Karl Anthony Towns, 28 points. Jaden McDaniels, 18 points. Rudy Gobert, 9 points. Anthony Edwards, 40 points. Mike Conley, 10 points. And then Naz Reid had 8. Those are all guys who are able to score, right? It's more that. That's more what you want to look for. You want to look for teams that can score across the board. It's not just 2 guys. Like, because when you look at it like this, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker both had elite games. When you have 2 players on your team scoring over 30, you should win that basketball game. But it's the fact that the Suns had nobody over even 10 that ends up leaving us going, well, great. Good job, guys. See you next year.
Yeah. That comparison to Minnesota is a good one. Because, I mean, you go down that lineup and there's, like, even when you get to, like, the 6th or 7th guy you've named, I mean, like, Naz Reid, wasn't he recently named, like, 6th man of the year? Like, there's that good depth that won them that series and is the reason they swept them. Even like Rudy Gobert with 9 points, like that's sure he has the same amount of points as Bradley Beal in this game, but he's also probably going to win Defensive Player of the Year, right?
Yeah.
Like there's where your value comes in. To kind of wrap up this segment.
Oh, did you just die?
I want to ask you this because you're probably. Oh, can you hear me?
I can now.
Hello.
that was pretty funny.
Okay,
Let me just ask you this: 10-second pause. For a second, I thought you were like really thinking before you like said it, and then I realized that you weren't moving or blinking, and I was like, "Did he just die? Did he just die live on camera?"
Nope, I did not. I'm good.
Quite. That would have been funny. Oh, maybe he did just die on camera. He might have died on camera. Oh, never mind. You're back.
Am I still here? Yep,
you are still here now. There we go. Trick play, the most the most professional of. We use very professional equipment, such as TELUS Wi-Fi.
Okay, well, if I'm good here, I'll restate what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
if I am back online. TELUS didn't fuck up again. So I'll say to wrap up the question, I'll ask you. Sorry, fucking hell.
Come on!
That one on the Wi-Fi.
We've been waiting.
Waiting for this question. Oh boy.
God, this better be the most crazy question.
It's fucking not. You're gonna be let down. But to wrap up the segment, I'll just ask one final question in terms of you're obviously going to advocate for making a move to get rid of one of the big three to bring in depth pieces. Yeah. Which one is it? Which one are you most likely to trade? And think about what you're going to get back too, because I mean Bradley Beal has been the most like in terms of underperforming, but you're probably not going to get a lot back for him because of that, right?
Yes.
The question.
But do you necessarily need the? Well, no. To answer your question, Bradley Beal. But to give you my reasoning right back, I don't necessarily think you need to get the most crazy thing back. I think what you're doing is you're freeing up cap space and you're freeing up whatever you do get back, as long as you get like a good depth piece. And honestly, someone who's very good defensively, I would honestly like a guy, preferably when I look at this roster, I like the idea of a good defensive guy who is a decent three-point shooter. And then a couple picks for Bradley Beal. I think if you can get that, the Suns are winning it, right? Because I think Bradley Beal, if I'm being honest with you, and I thought about this when we saw this big three be created, I think that Bradley Beal and Devin Booker are like, I don't know. I think they have too similar of roles at the end of the day. I think because they're both shooting guards who aren't very big. Devin Booker is on the taller side of the two. He's 6'5". Bradley Beal's 6'3". Like, I just don't necessarily think they work well on the same team because I think they both kind of do the same thing. Yeah. They're both scoring guard. With Devin Booker, I say undersized, but like undersized scoring guards, right, is the group that I'd put both of them into. And I think I don't know. I think you got to move one of them. It's not Kevin Durant because I think he's been moved too many times. I think you get the idea with Kevin Durant. I think at this point you're stuck with him and you have to make it work. At least until his contract runs up. I also think
you don't want to trade Booker because he's probably the one with the most long-term potential.
Well, I was going to say you don't want to trade Booker because he's your franchise guy. He's been there his whole career.
Pretty much.
Yeah, like I think that you keep Booker solely because of that. And yeah, I don't know. At least to me, I think it has to be Bradley Beal because I think Kevin Durant would be the hardest to move. I think Devin Booker would probably have the most interest, but I don't think you want to get rid of him. I think it's got to be Beal. He's the one with the least amount of ropes tied down to him, and I think he's also the guy who, I mean, at least to me, I'm biased because I've liked Booker since he came into the league, and when I look at the two, I like Booker more than Beal. And that's the end of it. That's it for me.
No,
that's not even a recency thing because I know, like you pointed out, Beal Beal has been underperforming lately, and I want to point out the fact that even prior to his underperforming, I thought Devin Booker was the better player. So when you look at it like that, I think it's got to be Beal. But I'm curious what you have to say, especially considering how you phrased the question, which made it sound like you had a different opinion.
I mean, no, I would agree. I think it's just like I would agree, but in terms of it has to be Beal, but I just think it's interesting in
Okay.
terms of like you can make arguments for the other players. I think just more than anything, the question shows how fucked they are. Because
Yeah.
it's like
Well, all
because
three would be hard to move.
you're in a no-win situation either way. You're gonna trade Beal,
Yes.
who
You're
nobody
trading.
probably wants, who
I
was
just.
your big free agent acquisition or whatever. No, I
Yeah.
don't know if he was a sign and trade or whatever, but your big acquisition of the summer, where this
Yeah.
was the big name guy coming in, and you're immediately saying, "Well, that's not working to pull the plug. That's not great optics," and you're kind of just going back to square one. Um, or you're trading Kevin Durant, who, like you said, like obviously losing the talents of Kevin Durant isn't going to be a great thing. You're probably not going to get a ton back for him considering age factor. Um,
Yeah.
and then trading Devin Booker, like you said, he's the franchise guy. He's probably the most talented. He's the youngest of the three. Like, and he's the guy who's been playing for the Suns his entire career. You're literally in a no-win situation, which is why it's just so disturbing that the Suns ownership is like, no, we're fine. It's like it's the meme
Yeah.
of the
Nah, it's
dog.
all right.
This is
Yeah, the
fine.
dog in
This is
the burning
fine.
down house. Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
I think it's pretty simple. I think Bradley Beal is the guy to go. But I think no matter what, it's going to be a pretty hard thing. I don't think no matter what, whether you're trading Devin Booker, whether you're trading Bradley Beal, or whether you're trading Kevin Durant, you are not winning the trade. That's the tough thing. Whenever you're trading a star, unless it's the case like what we have kind of seen with the Thunder in the last little bit, where all of those picks pretty much turned into incredible players. Like I think unless it's a case like that, I have a hard
they're not
time.
gonna get that.
Yes, exactly. Right. So it's just
They're
so
not
I.
trading Paul George in his prime or whatever,
Well, there you go. Right.
right?
And
They're trading like a 30-something-year-old Bradley Beal or a 36-year-old Kevin Durant.
yeah, and there you go. Right. Like it's the type of thing where yeah, no, that's exactly that. Right. I don't know. I don't have too much more to add on to that. I don't think.
Yeah.